Alrighty then.
Hi, welcome back to Wildcard FPL, your home for FPL content. It's been another difficult week for some of us managers out there with low scores all round. Haaland's been hauling, Salah's been hauling. Who did you captain this week? Are you in the points? We're going to talk about that and what we should do for Gameweek 13 right now. Yeah, so this week in my team, ended up with 55 points. Another red arrow for me. I got absolutely thumped last week. I'm not saying that's why I was away, but it could have been. I got thumped again this week. It was slightly more than 17 though, so that's something to be talked about. I captained Watkins. He scored, could have been better. My two good this week are Alvarez, who got an assist, and Watkins, who I captained. Bit of thin pickings for me. Watkins got a goal under captaincy, which was good for double points. Bad, I brought in Lascelles, and he got a huge 0 points. And Martinelli, I brought in for Maddison, who was injured, and he only got 2 and is injured as well to boot. So my week didn't go particularly well. How about you, Jon?
Yeah, not a great week, but it kind of came together on the second day. I got 64 points in total, and my two good were Salah, who delivered again. I didn't captain him, which is annoying. And I brought in Bowen, wanted him for a while, and he delivered despite West Ham's defeat. And too bad, probably leaving Tsimikas on the bench for 15 points in place of Lascelles for 0 is one that really stings. And then for ages I wanted more Crystal Palace defence, getting points from Johnson week in, week out. So I thought I'll add in the defender, got Mitchell in, and he did sweet FA as well. So that was me. What about you, Alf?
Too good, too bad. It's got to be Palmer. Had him for a couple of weeks. He was actually just an enabler when I got him in originally, but he's actually the real deal. I had him on for my bench last week, and I think he scored a 12-pointer, which was annoying. So I made sure I played him this week, and he got a nice little pen. And I think he will start getting some goals soon as well in open play. So happy with Palmer. I think we'll see a lot of other people start getting him in. And then Haaland, I didn't captain him. Really annoying. I wish I did, and I was very close to doing so. And then I just thought, let's be brave. And Watkins was a good punt at the time, but it didn't work out. It was not the end of the world. I mean, I got 12 points from Watkins, 16 from Haaland, 16 from Salah. So it's not too bad. But I think going forward, I'll just make sure that I'm captaining Haaland or Salah. I think that's the rule. Yeah. And then too bad, I got to put Cash in bad. Since I got him in, he's just been terrible. Not terrible, but he's not scored any own goals or got any red cards. But just like 1-2 pointers. I think he got a 0 pointer actually last week. Just really not good. So not happy with him at the moment. And then Mitoma, I got him in for these good fixtures. Sheffield United at home was the one. I was patient with him. I was thinking about transferring him out before the beginning of the game week. I was thinking about getting Bowen in, but I didn't in the end. I thought I'd stick with him because they have Sheffield United, and he scored 1 point. He was benched, so just terrible. Really, really, really disappointed. I got him in with my wild card as well with these fixtures, and it just has not worked out. But it is what it is. We move.
We do. We keep going. And for me, the question, like you say, with Haaland is my anti-less Haaland experiment over now? Haaland, or Man City rather, have not the best run of fixtures coming up by any other team's standards, but even when Haaland isn't looking that good and Man City have difficult fixtures, he's still thumping in a couple of goals per game now. And certainly he's making my choice of Watkins as captain look pretty shoddy. So, is now the time? What do you two think? Should I be buying him back ahead of Liverpool, or should I give my experiment slightly longer? Alf, I know you said you'd be scared without Haaland. What would you think at this point?
Yeah, I think that you could just bite the bullet. I mean, you've got to think about how you do it. There may be a bit of surgery needed for your team, but I'm looking at his fixtures here. He's got Liverpool at home, Spurs home, Aston Villa away, and then Luton, Crystal Palace. These aren't easy fixtures whatsoever, but maybe he is going to start scoring in big games too. I think we might start seeing that. He also obviously he's on pens as well, so. If I were you, I would probably just bite the bullet. I think you've got to think about how you would do it. You have Son in your team.
I have Son. I have Watkins. I was going to hang on to Watkins for the Bournemouth game, but I mean, I'll probably get rid of Watkins now. He's not doing particularly well in this last run of games. And Son for Spurs, their fixtures aren't looking so hot now as well. So they'll probably both go for me to make room for Haaland.
Yeah, that would work, wouldn't it?
Which is fine, but it's just I just wish it had worked out a bit better in my favour for this experiment, but it hasn't done. I seem to have shed 2 million ranks so far, so I might call it a day.
Yeah, John, I mean, you're a Spurs fan. Like, is getting Son out the move, do you think? Probably is, right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to... I think, tying it into the Haaland conversation, City have adapted to not having De Bruyne for Haaland a bit more. I mean, Alvarez was taking the lead, but Haaland seems to be a little bit more. I know it's only one game, but he looked like he was really in amongst it against Chelsea. In the same way, I think Son and Spurs, now absent Maddison, will take some time to figure out how to play. And Richarlison as well is out, and he did score some goals and he was getting assists. So Solomon is out as well. The sort of left, Son's a bit more left-sided, I think, and that sort of left side and creativity is gone, and really horrible fixtures. I don't expect to see Son scoring hat-tricks, but he is capable of that. But I just can't see how he's getting the ball in that sort of current team. So yeah, if you've got Son, I would be looking to get back to Haaland. Those three fixtures are super high pressure for Spurs, Villa, and Liverpool. And I think that'll create space for Haaland. I think he'll start scoring, and I think there will be penalties in those games as well.
Yeah,
might be time.
Yeah, I think one of the questions that people will have right now will be what to do about Newcastle. I mean, I've got 2 Newcastle defenders. John, I think you've got 2 Newcastle defenders. It's not looking good to be a Newcastle asset owner right now. They're looking a bit tired, to say the least. Who are the options to swap to if we're giving up on Newcastle, do you think? Who might you be looking at to swap out your Newcastle defenders for, John?
Yeah, I know Al's probably going to say the same thing, but Chelsea, looking at some Chelsea players, they seem to be, dealing with being a £1 billion super squad thrust together. Pochettino's pulling them together. I think so. I think Chelsea are a decent shout. I think I will stick with. I've got a couple of Crystal Palace assets already, but I do think they're one of the better defences in the league, and they're good moves. I'm probably going to go Newcastle to Chelsea, but I think Newcastle to Palace is a good idea as well. You're going to do the same, Alf?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I don't have any Crystal Palace defenders, so that would be a really good shout for me personally. There's one thing that we got to think about, and that is the Christmas fixtures that are just around the corner. I was thinking about this earlier, and I think Newcastle are in a lot of trouble. They got Hall, who seems to be starting ahead of Livramento. I don't know if that's going to continue, but then they have Trippier, Schär, obviously Lascelles. Botman needs to come back into that team. Like, that is a priority for that team, I think, and that's going to be really interesting to see over the next few weeks. We don't know about Botman. I think he went over to Holland to get some treatment. But I think they are sells. Like, my take right now is that Newcastle you need to be selling your Newcastle assets. Like, their fixtures are crazy. They've got Champions League. They need to win their next 2 Champions League games to stay in the Champions League. They've got crazy Prem fixtures, and I think they're down 11 men at the moment in their entire team. So I would say a priority for me, I have 2. So I have Lascelles and I have Schär. I think I need to get rid of one of those players. I'm thinking I might perhaps we'll chat about this later, but I'm thinking about doing Lascelles back to Simicast, which is absurd, but like obviously that's a whole other story. But yeah, I think just from that perspective, they're not going to be the team that we know them to be over the past few weeks and past few months. So I think for me personally, it's probably about time that we started thinking about getting rid of them.
Yeah, and I think Maguire.
Maguire's not a bad shout. Yeah, hero.
Chiefs as all hell. Form team in the Premier League. Clean sheets, 4.2 or something. I said it a couple of weeks ago. Should have followed through.
In terms of Chelsea defenders, though, Alf, if you weren't going Simicast, would you look at a Chelsea defender instead, do you think?
Yeah, I thought Reece James looked really good, obviously, against Man City. I think he is back. The problem with Reece James is that when you get him in, he then invariably gets injured over the next, 1 or 2 game weeks. That just seems to happen. Hopefully they've managed him, and they obviously are. Gusto came on, I think, at 65, 70 minutes last night. So I think Reece James could be a shout, and the way that I would manage that is perhaps getting both Reece James and Gusto. So you can kind of pivot between them. Again, these Christmas fixtures are going to be really crazy for a lot of teams, and if you that's actually a really good shout. If you're able to get James and Gusto in, I think that could be really decent. So yeah, Simicast, Reece James, Gusto, I think for me are top 3. We need to start looking away from Newcastle. We need to start looking away from Aston Villa now. So Chelsea, are they a buy? I think they probably are. But again, the fixtures aren't great for the short term. But I think it could be the right move long term.
Yeah, and John, how about you? Have you got your eye on any Chelsea players in particular?
Yeah, I mean, similar story. I mean, Reece James looks great. I thought Gusto was kind of okay when he came on, but yeah, I'm actually kind of thinking now. I don't have any Arsenal players at the moment, and I was just looking at the last 6. Arsenal have only conceded 4 goals in the last 6 games. Near the top of the league, on a good run again. They've got Rice sitting in front. I might actually go back to our good old friends, Saliba, and maybe Zinchenko, something like that. Some options, but yeah, my defence needs a bit of a rethink, really. And with Trippier, I mean, if I do decide to sell Trippier, then I've got quite a lot of money to spend on defenders. So yeah, Reece James, Zinchenko, Saliba, a Crystal Palace defender. That feels quite nice.
Yeah, it feels like that sort of point in the season where things are changing around fairly rapidly. I mean, if we're holding Spurs players still, Villa players, Liverpool, City, they're all playing each other this week. Something's got to happen. Something's got to change. I've definitely got my eye on Palmer. I've been avoiding the sight of him. But yeah, seeing him putting in a penalty versus some of my midfielders, it does look appealing, and he is a good price if I want to save money to go up to Haaland elsewhere. In the midfield department, what are the moves now, do you think? I mean, we've talked about defence. Alf, you were a bit disappointed in Mitoma this week. Are you thinking maybe a change from him?
We were toying with my team yesterday, and I could do Son, Mitoma out and bring in Mbeumo and Eze, which I really like. Bowen's killing me. He's really killing me. He's my equivalent to Palmer for you, Bear, right? So whenever West Ham are playing, I just can't. And then it's always him. He's always scoring. So I do really feel like I need Bowen, and I can afford him if I get rid of Son. So that could be the move. And a little bit punty would be getting Mbeumo back and then Eze. Or it could do a combination of Bowen and Eze or Bowen and Mbeumo. I think those 3 are top of the list for me.
Yeah, we've already heard about what Alf's thinking with his transfers. John, I know you've got a couple of weeks to think about this yet, but gun to your head, what would you say your plans were for the next game week?
Yeah, so I didn't roll the transfer. I did a -4. I mean, Saka is kind of killing me. Gordon Luiz, Douglas Luiz at Villa, Gordon at Newcastle are hit and miss. I don't know if they're going to be sort of rotated a bit. I think I'll stick with Luiz, stick with Bowen, stick with Salah. I probably will stick with Saka just because they're playing well. I've got to sort my defence out really, so I think gun to my head, it is going to be, or maybe Trippier, out for a Saliba, I think, and then keep some money in the bank to be more flexible going into the Christmas period, because I think we'll all want to be making transfers, and I don't want to be at 100 mil. So I think I might step down from Trippier. And then I'll have Tsimikas, Saliba, Mitchell, and Lascelles. It's not great, but I'll probably have 3 or 4 million in the bank.
Yeah, I think my thoughts right now, I also didn't roll. I rolled last week and took 2, so I would have to potentially take a hit when the time comes around. But I might do Son down to Palmer and then Watkins up to Haaland. I think that's probably a good move tactically, because Watkins and Son will be playing each other anyway, so they're probably not going to get many points that week. Palmer has Newcastle. Newcastle aren't looking fantastic right now, so he might get something. And Haaland, I think, the dream is over in an anti-Haaland team, or an anti-Haaland team. So I think I've got to get the big man back in. But obviously we'll have to wait and see what happens. They could all be flaming hot Doritos by that point, so we'll have to wait and see. Those are our plans this week, following another fairly tough weekend of FPL. We've got the international break to come up, but in the meantime, if you want to talk to us about your teams, you can always hit us up in the comments down below and find us on Twitter. As usual, our handles will be floating around on the screen somewhere. We'll still be putting out videos in the international break, so if you don't want to miss them, make sure you hit the subscribe button and you can catch our next video on Wildcard FPL. But in the meantime, enjoy the break and we'll see you soon.